His darshan and His blessings. And such a beautiful welcome, of course, always to our global family joining us from all over the world. We feel you. We feel you here with us on the banks of Mother Ganga. And last night, as our beautiful Brian and Adrian had such wonderful questions last night, your dad tells me that you have questions again. You have questions again?
Yes.
Okay. If you come a little closer, then the microphone will actually pick it up and it'll go straight into the camera, which is nice because then everybody can hear you. Yes. Okay.
I have something to ask.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Whenever we are big or small, we can protect the environment, like not wasting water or cutting down trees or not throwing garbage on the roads.
Absolutely. 100%. Is that a question?
That's the ask.
It's an ask. Okay. So, the answer is absolutely. For those of you who may not have heard him so perfectly, he said all of us who are big and small can protect the environment. There's so many things we can do. Absolutely. And you've given some great examples of what we can do. We cannot cut trees. We cannot use things that are made from trees that are cut down.
Like paper?
Well, paper we have to use, but they make recycled paper. You can buy paper that is 100% recycled. And you also can do, because here in India it's not quite as common, unfortunately. Hopefully it will become more and more. I know in the West it's really easy to get it. Here not so much. But here what we do anyway is the paper you have, you make sure to really use it. So you use not only the front and then throw it, but you use the front, you use the back. If there's a little bit at the bottom, cut that off. That becomes a notepad. So if you have to use it, if you have to use paper, and these days anyway, everything is digital. Really no need to have too much paper. But if you have to use it, just make sure that you use the whole paper. And you can plant trees, right?
Yes.
You don't have to be big and strong to plant trees. You can plant a lot of trees. And you know what else you can do is you can inspire other people to plant trees. So when you have a birthday party, say you have 30 or 40 or even more maybe people who come to your birthday party. How many people come to your birthday party?
Normally none. In South Africa.
Oh, okay.
In India, I
You are
have
right.
friends and COVID's there.
You are right. So before COVID, when you were with all of your friends, how many people came to your birthday party?
30 or somewhere like that.
Yeah, somewhere around 30. That's what I thought. So now, if you had a tree planting birthday party, where everybody in your birthday party planted trees, with 30 people, you could easily plant a few hundred trees in only maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and still have time for the movies. Or bowling or whatever else you do, you would still have time. But you know what else you can do?
What?
Do you know what the absolute most important thing for anyone to do to save the environment is? Unless you are the prime minister or the president of a country. Other than that, they have a lot of other ways. Other than that, the most important thing anyone can do to save the environment, you want to guess what it might be?
I don't know.
Anybody else want to guess?
Transport.
Planting trees is great. Transport is right up there. Any other guesses? The number one most powerful way to avert climate change and protect the environment. To protect water. Well, we need water.
Be a vegetarian.
Be a vegetarian. The
They are vegetarians.
then you make others vegetarians. The meat industry, and this is United Nations statistics. The meat industry, meaning the cows and the pigs and the chickens, who from the time they're born, they are raised like a factory, just to become hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken McNuggets. That industry that we call animal agriculture is the single greatest contributor to climate change. Single greatest contributor to environmental destruction. You mentioned about water. The amount of water that goes into the production of 1 pound of beef. So a couple friends sit together for hamburgers. That amount of water is about 2,500 gallons of water. It's very approximately, you can say 10,000 liters. It's about the same amount of water that you would use in bathing every day. Do you bathe every day?
Yes.
Great. Now, do you bathe from a bucket or do you bathe from a shower that comes like this?
A shower.
Okay. How long do you think your shower is approximately?
I don't know.
Okay, well, they found out that the average shower is 8 minutes. Okay? Sounds about average to me. If you bathe every day, and you bathe from a shower, not the bucket like we do here that saves even more water, but you bathe from a shower 8 minutes a day, the amount of water that you use in 6 months of bathing is the same amount of water that goes into that meal of hamburgers. Which means that for those who are not vegetarians but care about the environment, you literally would have to not bathe for 6 months in order to offset the water usage of that one meal of hamburgers. Chicken is about a third, so you'd have to not bathe for 2 months if you sat down to chicken nuggets with friends. So being a vegetarian, single best way. You know, Pujya Swamiji was speaking in the Arti about the Amazon forest.
Yes.
The Amazon forest are what we call the lungs of the world. They provide about 20% of the oxygen we need. They absorb about 20% of the carbon. And they hold and provide about 20% of the fresh water on Earth. But literally, every second, you know how long a second is?
Like
Can you show us? Clap your hands. How much is a second?
1.
Do like 5 seconds.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In that amount of time, 5 acres of rainforest have been cut down simply to graze the cows who become hamburgers. That is a lot of trees. Now, you could plant trees with all of your friends from morning till night, every night, and you couldn't plant as many trees as are being cut down for the hamburgers. Keep planting them. It's great. It's super important. But also, if you can convince all your friends to be vegetarian, that will be the strongest and best and most powerful thing you can do. And it's so easy. It's easy. 3 times a day we have this beautiful opportunity. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
How 3 times?
Pujya Swamiji is asking, why do we have it 3 times a day, an opportunity?
To save the environment.
We do, but why do we get it 3 times a day?
Breakfast.
What do you do 3 times a day?
Eat lunch, breakfast, and dinner.
Exactly. So if you eat all of them as vegetarian, then you have contributed to saving the environment 3 times a day.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes.
Great. Any other questions?
There could not have been a more powerful way of saying this.
Any other questions?
No.
Any for you? Okay. So, moving on. Does anyone else here have any questions? Yes. Namaste.
I want to ask the relation between a mantra and the recitation of the mantra and how it enters in our ears.
Hmm.
In some sadhanas, you're supposed to chant the mantra together and you do. Sometimes I listen the audio, and sometimes I don't know yet the stotra, and I just keep listening. And I wanted to know like the effect on just listening the mantra and the effect of you reciting together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So mantras and the impact if you just listen when you don't necessarily know all of the words, and the impact when you speak it. So the Sanskrit mantras, there's actually an entire science in the Vedas of sound, the science of sound. There's a whole scripture called the Samveda, which is literally the science of sound. So a mantra has many components. It has the meaning that touches our hearts. It has the power when you get a mantra given by a guru, which is how many of us receive our mantras, is we actually are in the presence of our guru who chooses the right mantra for us and gives it to us. When that mantra is given by the guru, in addition to the power of the mantra itself, it also comes with the power from the guru. Excuse me. It comes with the power of the guru's Shakti, the guru's sadhana. The mantra also has the actual power of its sound. Now, just listening is beautiful. When you sit on the banks of Ganga and all of the beautiful mantras are being chanted. For those of us, when you don't understand all the words, it's actually in a way more powerful in some way, because then the intellectual brain doesn't even get involved. When you're processing it as language, someone saying something, then it processes through the language center of the brain. When you actually don't understand it, there's a very beautiful component to that, because it doesn't get processed as language. It just gets processed as sound. And it goes within and literally transforms you alchemically. Like you were a crucible, a science crucible. And this magic energy gets poured into it. And it's said very clearly that the power of mantra, listening to it, if you listen with your heart, which of course is possible even if you understand the words anyway, but to listen with the heart, it actually will transform you. You know, from the West, we understand very little about the science of sound, but we see it every day. So for example, people have, whistles, right? Now, if somebody blows a whistle and it's this very high-pitched sound, you feel it in the body. You go to a rock concert and you sit too close to the speakers, and you don't just hear the volume, but the bass, the feeling of the bass, the vibration of the bass, right? You feel it. Your whole body kind of is vibrating. You feel it. If you blow a whistle at a certain frequency, it actually can crack a glass across the room. Yeah. Ask your science teacher. The frequency of the sound is actually enough, when it's a high enough frequency, that it can shatter glass. So we understand that. We also, just in our daily life, right? When someone's yelling, you feel it. Even if you don't necessarily understand the words they're saying, imagine somebody starts to scream at you in a foreign language. Well, you don't understand what they're saying, but you know, you feel it. Your stress response goes up. Your pulse is up, you're sweating. And if someone starts to love you in a foreign language, again, you may not understand what they're saying, but your heart just melts, right? I mean, you feel it. So even with our culture that doesn't have this subtle science of sound, still we experience it every day. And then in the Vedic tradition, they've actually mastered the sound and the way it impacts us. So I would say two things. Number one, when you are sitting in a place where stotras are going, mantras are going, you don't know all the words, don't worry. Just allow them to impact you and to transform you. But if you have mantras that you know the words to, chant them. Absolutely chant them. Because when you're chanting it inside, it creates a whole different change. When we're given a guru mantra, it's actually said that we should be speaking the mantra. Even though we're not speaking it out loud, we're speaking it silently to ourselves, but that we are speaking the mantra. We are hearing the mantra. We are seeing the mantra and tasting the mantra. It's actually said that that's what you should experience when you are chanting your mantra. It literally becomes your entire experience. So chant it and allow your entire being, the physical being, the energetic being, to be transformed by it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Any other questions? Yes.
When we say that let's divine to shine on us, let's divine to shine on us. So
It's divine. I'm so sorry. I didn't
it's
understand.
divine to shine on us.
Okay. Mhm.
So my question is, what I would like to understand is, where is that line that separates me or us from divine? Or what is that line?
Beautiful. There is no line. There is no separation. For me, the easiest way to think about this is the wave in the ocean. Okay? So when we talk about us and God, on the one hand, on the core, deep spiritual level, especially in traditions of Advaita Vedanta, we're told there is nothing but God, right? Nothing but God, everything else is an illusion. And we chant mantras. Soham, I am that. Aham Brahmasmi. I am God. So that's on one core, foundation, highest, deepest truth. We're going to call that ocean. But for the example, you have to imagine that the ocean is infinite. So it's not Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, but just an infinite ocean. We're going to call that oceanness, yoga. The union that yoga speaks about is that. The awareness that there is no separation. That union of this self to the divine self. That ultimate samadhi is that awareness. There is no difference. But then there's waveness. And the waveness is us here in this human existence. And that's not an illusion. Any more than a wave on the ocean is an illusion. It's not an illusion. If you think it's an illusion, go out and try to swim in a tsunami. You're going to realize very quickly this wave is not an illusion. So it isn't an illusion in terms of an optical illusion. But it isn't the highest truth. Meaning, if I took a spoonful of a wave and I gave it to a scientist and he looked at it or she looked at it under a microscope, they wouldn't say this is a wave. They would say ocean. Whatever shape it's in, big wave, small wave, fast wave, slow wave, tsunami. At the core, it's all ocean. Take a spoonful of it, look at it under a microscope, ocean. In the same way, the core of who we are is divine. No separation, no difference. That which is not born doesn't die, as Bhagavan Krishna teaches us in the Gita, right? Cannot be burned by fire, cannot be dried by the wind, cannot be cut by knives, cannot be wet with water. Just soul. And yet, cut this body, it bleeds. We see a starving child on the road. Tears come to our eyes. We see our rivers being polluted. Tears come to our eyes. Somebody falls down right in front of us. Well, okay, so on one level it's all God. That person falling is all an illusion. And yet, ask any spiritual master whether the fact that this is an illusion means you don't need to bend down and help him up. And everyone is going to say, you better bend down and help that person up. Because that is your dharma as a human being. And so we've got this oceanness and we've got this waveness. And yes, the oceanness is a higher, fuller, more eternal truth. Because the wave rises and then the wave recedes. We have a body, then we no longer have a body. Then we have another body. Then we no longer have that body. Then we have another body, just like the waves. So the eternal truth is you are God. And even in your bodies, you are still God. Like even when the wave is a wave, it is still ocean. It never stops being ocean just because it has risen as a wave. In the same way, we don't stop being God just because we have taken birth and form. But now we have another truth as well, which is this existence. And in this existence, this karmic package, it's kind of a full package. And it comes with all kinds of ego and all kinds of ignorance and all kinds of desires, all kinds of patterning, mostly that we get in our early childhoods. And we carry it with us in our life. And that ignorance is what blocks us from the shining light of the divine. And so when we pray for the light to shine, you're right, it's actually an incorrect phrase. The prayer actually should be, please remove the curtains from my eyes, rather than please shine on me. Because of course grace is always shining, but we are not aware because we are living in ignorance. We've got these curtains of ego, these curtains of our identification that makes us feel very small. I am this body, I am my job, I'm my career, I'm my relationships, I am my bank account. And so life becomes really kind of stressful, right? And so in that stress, where we're constantly wanting more beauty, more youth, more wealth, more money, more prestige, higher on the ladder, we end up cutting ourselves off just in our minds, just in our awareness, from that oceanness. It's like we've risen as the wave, and now our identity is, I am exactly 4 seconds old, and I am 5 feet tall. Oh wait, now I'm 5'2". Now I'm 5.5 feet. And I am made of this many liters of water. Right? You would laugh. Hare wave, you are ocean. You are infinite. You are not 4 seconds old. It's just 4 seconds in this particular waveform, but how many waveforms you've been in before that? So our identification as this story, what's happened to me, how I've been wronged, or I've been betrayed or cheated, or I got the short end of the stick and now this guy owes me. Our stories, our dramas. I'm the one who has to do all of the work. Nobody else helps out. I'm never appreciated enough. These stories that ruin our lives. And so we pray. And you're right. Rather than praying, oh, shine on me, we should really pray, oh, open my eyes. Remove the curtains so that I can see. Because it's always there, but we can't see it. And that's why, going back to this, we were speaking about the Guru mantra. The word Guru literally means the remover of the darkness and the one who brings light. Now, the light that the Guru brings, it's not that the Guru is shining a flashlight on himself or herself. People sometimes ask, how do you know if it's the right Guru? And I always say there's no equation for that. But I can tell you when you know it's the wrong Guru. If the only light they're looking to shine is on themselves, you might want to think before progressing closer. Because the light that the Guru shines is so that we can see ourselves. The Guru shows us the light in ourselves. How? By removing the darkness. By removing those curtains. By opening our eyes. And so, yes, you're right, there is no separation. And yet, tragically, most of us don't move through the world feeling like we are being showered in light. Most of us feel very separate. Most of us pray, please grace, please light, please God. When really what we should be praying is, please empty me of all of that is keeping me separate from God, separate from grace, separate from light. That ego, that ignorance, those attachments. And then the light is always there. Beautiful. One last one. Yes.
I would ask if you could speak of karma, because I believe it's said that when you have a guru or around a guru, they can actually remove your karma or change your karma in a sense. So is that true?
So the question is it true that a guru can remove your karma or change your karma? Yes. And yet, remember that our karmic fruits, karma literally means action. when we speak usually about karma, we're talking actually about the fruits of the karma. The karma is what we've done. The fruit of that is what we get in exchange for that. What comes from that. What trees grow from the seeds we've planted. Now, most of us tend to think of those fruits as rewards or punishments. So you hear people say things like, oh my God, I must have done some really bad karma in order to be in this horrible situation. Or, oh God, this guy must have done some really good karma to be in that situation. But it's important to realize that God is not like Santa Claus. You know, we think about Santa Claus, and I think about the songs that we used to sing about, he knows if you've been good or bad, right? And so are you going to get what's on your list based on if you've been good or bad? Come Christmas morning, right? Well, if you've been good, you can expect all those presents. If you've been bad, maybe not so much. God is not like Santa Claus. We've imposed these constructs on God and on the universe. It's not a system of rewards and punishments. The karmic fruits that we get serve two purposes. Number one, they're quite literally the law of nature. Plant an apple seed, you get an apple tree. And they are that which we need at this particular intersection of time and space in our karmic packages to go closer to God. And so when something happens that's a challenge or that's difficult, instead of thinking, oh my God, what did I do to be in this situation? Think about it as in, how is this moment supposed to be something that's going to take me closer to my truth? Think about them as like layers of an onion that you're peeling. And ultimately the goal is not to have sweet layers of the onion, but ultimately the goal is to get these layers all peeled so that we actually are free from that cycle. So that's the karmic theory. Now, the role of the guru, of course, the guru can do anything. God can do anything. And yet, what you realize is, God put these laws into place. And so my favorite example of this is you think of the law of gravity. Now, if you're a really good person, a deeply spiritual person, and you decide to walk off the rooftop because you believe that you have wings and you can fly, or that God's going to give you wings on the way down, it's very unlikely that God is going to supersede his own law of gravity by making you float to the ground like a feather. Because these laws have been put in as laws of nature by the Creator. So has karma. So yes, the guru absolutely can change your karma, can remove karma. What I've seen, though, mostly is that the work of the guru isn't so much, oh, let me be a magic wand for all your troubles. Like a parent who calls up the principal to tell them that someone's bullying you and that, they really need to stop. But rather is going to be the one to show you how, in that challenge, you can take your next step closer to God. How you can see the light in this moment. So rather than being the magic wand that's going to turn your apple tree into an orange tree after you've planted an apple seed. And again, yes, the guru can do it, and sometimes they do. There are absolutely, I have seen with Pujya Swamiji. There's absolutely moments where he decides, okay, this is where we do that. But most of the time, the lesson and the teaching and the power of the Guru is much more to be to help you overcome your allergy to apples. To help you realize actually how wonderful apples are. To help you learn to make apple pie. To help you open your orchard to children who can come and pick the apples from your tree. Rather than just, oh, you wanted oranges, you made a mistake, okay, no problem, let me just redo that for you. That changing of the karmic fruit is not so much the apples to oranges, but is turning the bitter to sweet, not by changing, one vegetable into another vegetable, but actually teaching you how, in the face of that which you thought was bitter, how there can actually be sweetness. Beautiful.
Beautifully explained.
Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. Beautiful, sacred Govardhan Puja Day and New Year for all of our Gujarati family all over the world. And a beautiful morning and day for our family joining us from so many corners of the world. And deep gratitude to Pujya Swamiji for blessing us with his darshan and his blessings.